The 15th of June 2025, lawyers and the mess we're in. Lawyers and the mess we're in. Now, people talk there about a few posters there that's always giving out smart remarks, but note that they never have anything substantial to give. I do delete some of their comments. Sometimes they make comments about the gross descriptive of homosexual interaction and sexual interaction, and I delete them. I also delete anything that might cause defamation or legal action, so I do delete them. But it's hard to watch them all. But anyway, I don't let them put them off completely, because we need to see how the other half lives. Two of those are people from Dublin who are gurriers, or grougers as it were, and one of them had to move over to Scandinavia, moved over there and totally anti-church and hates the church, and went to a secondary school in Dublin where there was boys abused. I don't think this fellow was abused, but his friends were abused, and so he has a massive grievance over that, and I can't do anything about that. And he loves it over there because you can have naked saunas over there too, somewhere part of Scandinavia, and families come in totally and take off all their clothes and this sort of thing. But it's almost certainly that those people are still, they pursued me for years, and it's almost certain that they're following me here too. So I wouldn't pay too much heed to them. We can delete some of them if we have to, but let them belt away. But the main thing you'll know about them, they support Sinn Féin totally. They believe the whole solution of the world is Sinn Féin. Although that first fellow I mentioned, he's from Ballyfermot, he doesn't support the mass migration, because they're competing with him for accommodation, even over in Scandinavia. So we let you go on that. That's what that's about. I can delete them, but I wouldn't worry about them too much, or any of them too much. There's always a few, and there's a few others there. And then the post, it's great to see you have to mention me. But the thing about it is, Einstein said, 10,000 people can say I'm right, one can prove I'm wrong. So you have to deal with the one or two that have a different viewpoint. And needless to say, all are very welcome to come on my programme. That fellow I'm talking about, he had the superstar bug. He thought he was going to be a superstar like Elvis Presley, and he bought a set of drums and he was walloping them away, but it never came to anything, I think they made one song or something. But anyway, what I want to get on to here is, when I was in the Gardaí, there was terrible pressure on to have summary offences. Fellas for taillights, no light on the bike. There was a commissioner one time called Pat Malone, and he was from Dundalk or over there, and he was stationed in Mayo, and it was always said he prosecuted his own wife for no light on her bike. She was going home from the shop, forget his dinner and her tea, and he prosecuted her for not having the lights on the bike, and they made him a commissioner. That was a great thing in those days. So you'll get that, but I always felt that the reason they wanted the courts full was solicitors got money. So you stopped a fella, you done it for no light on his bike, he went into the solicitor. At that time he'd paid the solicitor £30, and the solicitor talk in court, and he'd be fined £10. I never liked it too well. I remember one time I was stationed in Kevin Street in Dublin, and we were sent up to the South Circular Road, and we were told to check. Somebody got reports that the cars weren't being taxed and insured, and we did a check bite, and we started checking cars. And people get a gunk when you'd come, there'd be, you'd, as a country lad, you'd feel for them a bit. Some load of car full of kids and the tax would be up and that, but you'd have to take their names down. But one of the things about it was that they had 10 days to produce their insurance, an insurance certificate. And they had 10 days, but I took the names of about 6 up there at Player Will's factory, where it was that time. And I came down anyway, and they had 10 days to produce it. And the inspector was there, and he wanted to know how many no insurances did we find. And I said, we can't say. I've got one admitted he had none, but there was 7 others, and they have 10 days to produce it. I can't say till they're produced or not. And he couldn't accept it. It was clearly that his chief superintendent wanted figures, and they wanted it followed up on prosecutions, and you couldn't prosecute the driver till the 10 days was up. Tried telling them that. They had bullshitted their interview boards. They told them you could do this, when the law clearly said you couldn't. You had to wait 10 days. You had to demand a certificate of insurance or exemption if they were exempt from insurance, and they had 10 days to produce it at the station of their choice. And even if they admitted they had no insurance, you still had to give them that opportunity. But would the people in Kevin Street listen? Oh, I was a renegade. Oh, he's not. That fella's heart's not on the right place. He won't. He's no good to solicitors. Whereas in fact, I was right with the law. So for ordinary cases like no lights on your bike and no insurance on that, any solicitor will do the job good enough. Picking them is always trouble. But for serious cases, it's very, very important to get the correct solicitor and to choose the correct barristers and legal people to win your case. Very, very important. And some solicitors will talk. They'll talk about your private discussions. But they're the exception. And some of them will connive with the other side. And you want to watch for that. Sometimes your solicitor will you might be fighting a case over a land law or something. You want to watch they wouldn't be bought off by the other person. So these are things to watch for. There's no real good way of fixing it. I don't have the answer. Choose them very carefully. Everybody. I've had terrible grief with lawyers, and I don't see how you can avoid it. Generally, people stick with the one in the local town and they won't let you down, but you never know. Now, I have a friend who, on reliable information, was talking to a person who was big up in the British government, only a civil servant, connections here in Ireland. And he was saying that a few years ago that there was a meeting held in London when Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister, and there was a few big wigs there, but Boris Johnson was personally at it, and it was over this issue of migration and the boats coming across the channel, and they come up with an idea to stop it. And then someone said, well, they can appeal to the International Court of Human Rights. Now, that's a different court to the European Court of Justice. The European Court of Justice is the guardian of the treaties. The European Court of Human Rights is in The Hague. And they said, well, no, if you get a fella coming in flat off a dinghy boat from the middle of Africa, from the bush, and you catch him and go to extradite him, he can go through the courts. And he can fight it the whole way through to the European Court of Human Rights and get full backing, full free legal aid. And the legal profession are making a fortune out of it. And I was up with the windmill case here in the High Court, and I was waiting to get leave to take my case on a very good point to do with European law on planning. And these boys was in front of me, one after the other with the lawyers, all illegal migrants, all in front of me and getting priority. I was the last of the queue before the judge to get leave. And they got leave to take their cases, mostly all, but some of them didn't, but most of them did. And I had my case truncated or put in as a telescope thing where the judge decided on the hearing that whether I could get leave to take my case or not. And this is a highly important piece of legislation where the judge eventually ruled that the road where the windmills were was not a public road, when in fact it was, and several other ignorance of the law, which is a big thing. But anyway, that's the point about it. They get all the goings because they get all the free legal aid. Now, is it right that a person can come from nowhere looking for big dole, a house and all the rest? There's an Afghan there on YouTube, gets 500 a week and a place to stay. Is that right? And all the legal help they get. How did we get to a situation? Well, I know what I would do. I would withdraw Ireland from the European Court of Human Rights immediately. And I would withdraw. Britain should withdraw from it immediately. They probably won't. But that's the answer. Why did we sign up for this? Well, what's in it for us? Now, the Arab-Israeli war goes on, and it's getting worse. I might do a video on it. And there's an international court at The Hague, and they deal with criminal matters. And some of you'll say that Netanyahu is a criminal, some of you'll say he's not, and all that. But the thing about it is that they have issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu. Big statesman, whether you like him or not, he's a big statesman. And it's a political decision. It's not really a decision. Right, some of the things is near enough to genocide, but to what stage does it become? He's the elected leader of the country. Now, Donald Trump has gone and clamped sanctions on them. And as I understand it, 2 of the judges in the International Court in The Hague have their bank accounts frozen. So that's all politics. We in Ireland should have nothing to do with the International Court at all, or the International Court of Human Rights. We're bound by the European Court of Justice, but that's only on the treaties. It's not on migration or that sort of stuff. And of course, the barristers milk it for all they get. And in the criminal justice system, which I was part of in Dublin and all over the country, right, there has to be some legal protection for Irish people. but you extend it in a big net all over the world. All over the world. I'll tell you, you go to Rwanda or you go to Nigeria and you look for free legal aid, I'll tell you, you'll soon find out where to go. And when they had Assi Bibi, a woman whose lawyer was shot dead, Ireland wouldn't let her in, and then they tell us this is all humanitarian. The other thing they're doing in Northern Ireland now is racism. The police chief in Northern Ireland has decried that the rioters are racist. Now in Cavan, and these migrants are coming in from the south too. In County Cavan, there was a meeting in May 2024, and Paddy McDonald, the retiring Sinn Féin councillor, not a bad fella at all, and not making anything wrong about him, and our local Fianna Gael, that's a big miss, Fianna Fáil County Councillor Clifford Kelly came, and in them coming, it was a good job to come to it, and they said that while they were on Cavan County Council, both were on Cavan County Council, they sent a letter to the minister asking who these people were coming to their county, and he refused to answer. So my point to the policeman in Northern Ireland is, how can the people of Northern Ireland be racist when they don't know who is coming in? And if some lad from abroad rapes a girl, or two of them rapes a girl, one of their cousins or something, it's racist to object. That's the depths at which this has sunk to. Now, I was talking to a few people over the week, and they said my YouTube channel is very good. It's keeping them well informed, and they do admit they have trouble getting time to watch it. This time of year, it's not easy to watch them. So I'm definitely trying to curtail the length of my videos. So I hope if there's anything you want me to deal with. Somebody was on there about the Irish Constitution. It's online, no problem. It takes a bit of understanding. I could do a video on it. I won't do it today. There was a book written by Fine Gael TD John V. Kelly. It's about 20 years old. He died. And that's a very, very good book. If it's available now, John V. Kelly. But it's a bit out of date. He explained the Constitution. It's modelled on the American Constitution. It deals with the various rights, but central to our Constitution is, it'll say a provision, no person shall be denied of his liberty save in accordance with law. And then it'll say laws may be enacted. So it doesn't mean you can't be arrested for breaking into a shop. It means you can't be arrested until there's a legal process to arrest you. And this was a problem for the Gardaí up till 1984, when there was no power of arrest except for terrorist type offences, firearms and explosives, and criminal damage, and conspiracy and protection to property. So a guard could suspect a fella killed a man with a knife by cutting his throat, and we couldn't arrest him to interview him until 1984. Very few people understand that. That's 100%. I'll put 200 to 5 that I'm right on that. 200 to 5. I know I'm right. Sure, I was there when the law came out. So I've explained that. Isn't that some state we lived in? That from 1922 to 1984, and the most of 84, there was no power to arrest anybody. What a crowd of villains we elect. What a crowd of idiots we elect. I mean, there was plenty of crime being committed. It was a terrible thing to be a guard. And then you'd be inviting this criminal to the station. Will you come down? And him a villain after cutting someone's throat. Oh, would you like to come down to the station? That's the law Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael imposed on us. At that time, Sinn Féin didn't want any law. They were fighting in the north, that they didn't want to be arrested at all. And the Special Criminal Court was made up for them kind of terrorist offences. And it's only in the last year that Sinn Féin allowed it to go on. They were against it. That means that if a jury could be intimidated, there could be no trial. So the Special Criminal Court has no jury, and so in special cases, on the instructions of Director of Public Prosecutions, there can be a hearing in the Special Criminal Court with 3 judges, no jury at all. But it's kept to a minimum, and it's only for offences where the fear is that the jury will be intimidated. Okay, so now you have all that, folks. That's the situation with lawyers and the mess. There have to be lawyers, and good lawyers are good. You can't appeal. It's very difficult going in on your own to court, and the courts don't want to see you. But some people go in and they just expect the judge to hear the case. You have to prosecute your case. You have to fight your case. And I fought my case very good against 3 teams of barristers. I had plenty of people around saw me do it, and 3 teams of barristers, and I had them down on it. Well, there was weaknesses in my case too, and others had an input into it. But the central case was right about the SCA directive. You see the messing where all the newspapers are selling, 60,000 homes will be powered by this solar farm, this, that and the other. And that's all should be dealt with by the SCA. There's a war between the offshore wind companies because they're finally discovering if you have a wind turbine here and one down here, 500 or a kilometre away, and even 20 kilometres away, this one takes the power out of the wind and this one doesn't work right at all. And then that was known 100 years ago. It's all in a book. There's a book on it and it explains all this, and nobody ever saw it because they wouldn't do the overall proper assessment. And that would take away a lot of the lawyers' judicial reviews, because a lot of the energy nonsense, the river basin and all these planning issues would be done properly, and they'd be dealt with at that stage, and these would be signed off. So the lawyers wouldn't make the same money from that. So the lawyers have to live, and some of them don't do that well. Some of them give it up eventually, and the courts are a sickening dose of a place to be. I wouldn't like to be in it much. Some often say, why didn't I qualify as a barrister? Oh no. And then they won't, the judges don't want radical people. They won't make radical decisions, but the Supreme Court probably will. And I gave you that case about that man O'Reilly in Cavan, and the Pylons case about the injurious affection, and where they won at the Supreme Court. Generally speaking, the judges of the Supreme Court have no more promotion, and they're sworn to uphold the Constitution, and so they generally do. But getting it to that is the big question. So if that person there, try that book by John V. Kelly. The Constitution is online, but bear in mind, the get out in the Constitution is laws can be made. So if there's a law on free speech, people shall have a right to free speech. They will then say laws may be enacted by the Oireachtas to cover this issue, and that allows the Dáil to curtail that. But there's a spirit to the Constitution. There's a spirit to the Constitution, and one of the issues of that in the Constitution was natural law. It was a case where the government was allowing people to go abroad for abortions in an act, and that Judge Blaney took an action, and he claimed that there was a natural element to the Constitution. In other words, the Constitution did not say that the government would prevent pregnant women travelling where they could get abortions, but that there was a natural law in the Constitution that was a Christian state and therefore a Catholic state, and therefore it wouldn't be within the Constitution to allow a way to get abortions. And the Supreme Court ruled in that case that there's no such thing as any law outside the Constitution. The Constitution of Ireland is what it says. That's what that ruling was. It's either in it or it's not. And that's where we're caught with the migration. There's nothing in the Constitution about migration, and therefore we're caught with that. We can't go to court on that particular issue. So that's it. I'll not give any more advice on that. The Constitution is effective, but you have to really go to the Supreme Court with it. And in that case about the Pylons, the ESB went through all the courts up and went to the Supreme Court because they knew they were going to have to pay out a lot of money. Somebody did say there then that the people are going to have to pay this money to landowners. But my attitude is rather tough. The devil meant them. 40% didn't go out to vote the last time. I had a big energy element on my CV or my manifesto for election in Cavan, and they just stayed at home. They wouldn't come out. So, and they voted Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. So my hope and my wish, I have to say this, I want a unit of electricity to be €100, so nobody has it. Let them do without it. Go back to the stove and the potbelly stove and a few sticks. That's what the Irish people deserve, because they had a chance to do something about it and they refused. So you reap what you sow, and they will mend them, because you can't talk to them. And you know, if there's an election in the morning, the Irish people would vote the same as they did the last time. And when you try to put out Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, what happens? A crowd of independents that claim to be different come along and back them to the hilt. And that is the biggest scandal of this. That's the biggest scandal. You have the Healy Rays you have Carol Nolan, you have Verona Murphy, all gave the hope that they were different, and they're not different at all. And I have harped on that. And I have a big fear in the United Kingdom that Reform UK will eventually do well, and Farage or someone like him will become Prime Minister, and they'll turn Turk. And that's why the only one who hasn't turned Turk is Donald Trump so far. That she's the only one. And where there are people like Marine Le Pen in France, they come along and leave themselves open. You can't leave yourself open. If I had to get elected, I'd expect a ton of bricks to come down upon me. Access to information, freedom of information, looking through everything I have and every decision I made and checking for me in the pen. And if they could get on, they were going to hang me. Well, it's up to people not to give them the chance to hang them. Up to people to do that. And they can't get at me. But it's unbelievable. You have a big election campaign, you elect a party, now you have change, and you discover it's just the same thing. And that's what happened with the Tory party in England. They turned red, like the Labour Party. This is happening. It's a very, very upsetting thing. It's a part of human nature I don't fully understand. Folks, we'll see you back. I hope that you got something from that video. I think we leave it like that today now. If there's any video, it'll be on some specialist subject. That's it. Bye, see you.